Welcome back. Have you wanted a base with the perfect blend of being cozy, defendable and strong? Look no further than the SPHINX. This dream solo duo trio base offers one-way raid-based peaks and TC passageways, taking inspiration from Alone-in-Tokyo. While continuing to blend my unique building style, this version almost doubles the original total raid cost by adding 3 compound bunkers that can be added at a later stage. It keeps the original SPHINX features such as turret pods that cover the compound and roof. Not only this, but it expands from the simplest of egg footprints that many of Rust players love. It can also be bunkered early on into the wipe, offering a sustainable progression throughout. It even comes with space for vending machines and farm plot areas within the TC passageways. After all of this, you are left with a 360-degree shooting floor, a range of Patrico peaks and turret pod angles, as well as a secondary floor full of utility rooms, storage and electric furnaces, not to mention a range of improvements to the compound area, allowing you to defend a wide range of raids, including door raids. If you like what you see, the SPHINX must be the base you try next. This base has incredibly low upkeep for the size of the base. It is even cheaper than the first design. On the outside of the base, we have a range of Patrico peaks on either side of the TC passageways. We also have a vending machine that can be accessed on foot. We enter the base through this raised airlock. This allows you to actually peek outside from standing on this bed. You can also airlock this again using double doors. By using a low wall here, you can defend raids from the shooting floor or outside just inside the compound, as you can see here. This is also coupled with a surprising way to get out the compound. This can be a quick way to get outside instead of going through the airlocks, or could be used to surprise anyone outside, including the pesky door campers. Coming around the compound, we also have these low walls that we can get a range of angles from. We also have the characteristic turret pods that have been slightly improved to cover the compound and roof a bit more efficiently. Through this door we have some Patrico peaks that look outside the compound, as well as some large boxes for extra storage space to split your loot. By placing a twig ramp here, we open one of the 3 external bunkers. This is a great way to increase the raid cost, and they're also pretty safe from MLRS. You will find one of these bunkers on each of the sides. Coming through into the TC passageway, which is actually inaccessible from the outside now. This increases the raid cost to get to your external bedrooms by a lot more. You'll also find some extra deployable space in this area, including a farm area. On each of the sides we have these single doors that allow us to peek on top of the TC passageway as well as look back at the base. You can use an armored door for this peek. However, you can also just open it, giving you a wider range of angles. On each side we have some raised Patrico peaks that give a more wider range of angles instead of the ones on the ground floor. You will also find some storage space above these. Each end of the TC passageways has been drastically improved. We have done this by adding more storage space, a medium battery and an extra bed. Here is the upkeep of each external TC. There are only 3 of them on this base. Each external TC will cost a minimum of 12 rockets to breach. Coming back through, we can see it's protected by extra garage doors. This triangle ramp here allows us to easily access the second floor. We also have this roof ramp that covers the gap into the bunker, as well as gives us a bit of raid base cover. Through here we have an airlock into the main entrance of the base. We have 2 fake entrances which act as mobility chutes to the shooting floor, and then this main entrance here that ends up going into the second floor. Here you'll find 2 secondary loot rooms with 4 boxes. I'm sure you can fit more storage space in here with barrels. You also have some space for electric furnaces and your main utility room. You also have a drop box here that allows you to quickly transfer loot in the case of a raid. This is a great way to transfer it to your external bunkers if you have more than one teammate. You can optimize this area however you please depending on your needs. Here we find a repair bench and a range of storage, as well as another drop box that can allow you to transfer loot. Very similar to the original SPHINX, the core is identical. We have a simple roof bunker that can be accessed by both PC and console players. Here is the upkeep of the main TC. You will notice that the upkeep of this base has been slightly reduced compared to the original SPHINX, but has actually increased the raid cost. To open the bunker, you can hatchet out this wood, then you can replace it and simply add stairs to access the second floor. You can actually place some furnaces here instead if you'd like. To access the shooting floor, we go through this ladder hatch that is protected by an armored door. The shooting floor is almost identical, offering these turrets the cover into the shooting floor, as well as the one-way raid base peaks that offer a range of angles to raid bases as well as outside the base. This area is protected by 3 turrets, and you can easily run around this area without any issues. You can achieve a range of great angles through these Patrico peaks by crouching on these ramps. As well as by standing on these small boxes, you can get some long range angles as well as vertical angles. These are protected by stone ramps. Up here we have access to our 360-degree shooting floor. You can defend the base from here almost entirely. You can shoot through the horizontal embrasures as well as the low wall peaks, as well as actually be able to shoot into your respawn room in case the armored door is destroyed. On each side we have these flank mobility chutes that are connected to this drop box. It will cost raiders at least 2 doors and the garage door to access into your shooting floor. On the top of the roof, as you can see, we have these 3 turrets that cover in case of a top-down raid, as well as 3 SAM site spots and windmills. And that completes the tour. Now we'll get into the build. The cost is also significantly reduced compared to the original build. Once you've found a spacious flat area, you want to place down these foundations as your starter. You want to place your TC in the right hand side and then place a double door. You can switch up the TC to being on the left hand side if you'd like. This might be a decent way to keep raiders guessing, in case they have seen this video. You then want to eventually add garage doors inside this area. Once you've made this simple starter, you can expand and upgrade this foundation to no more than wood. This will be where our bunker will be. You then want to raise a triangle foundation and armor this. On either side you want to protect the wood foundation. These can be left stone at the beginning of wipe. Then surround the raised foundation with half walls. You will eventually replace this double door with a garage door. To access your second floor you can place some twig stairs or furnaces. Then you want to simply seal this in, but make sure to add a half-height shelf before you seal it. This will increase your storage space early on. You will want to upgrade this to metal. To access your base you can place these foundations. Of course they don't have to be upgraded to metal instantly, but this is the final level. These are all permanent, so you can upgrade these. Then you can simply add a floor on top just to help the access. I will now upgrade the core of the base to the final level. You will of course want to do this at different stages, upgrading to metal first, then HQM. Come outside of your base and add a shelf to the inside loot rooms. You can do this by adding this twig build up here, and then you can place the twig through the wall. And then you can add honeycomb. As you can see, you are left with 2 twig triangles for extra storage space. You then want to complete the honeycomb on the rest of the base. This is what the base should look like. Now we will add another layer of honeycomb, so we have 3 layers to core. This is also important to cover our bunker. Now we will complete our second floor to increase our storage and utility room areas. You want to simply honeycomb the left hand side of the drop down, and then the left of this, inside the square, will be your utility room. This is where you can place your workbenches. On the top, if you don't have a ladder hatch yet, you can upgrade this to wood and hatch it out later, or even stone if you'd like. Or if you have a ladder hatch, you can add a frame and add it straight away. Then expand the second floor like so. This is what you should be left with. On all three sides you want to add a single door frame and then a double door frame on the left. You will also want to add a frame on top for access to the shooting floor later. These will act as fake entrances at this stage of the wipe. This is a great way to keep raiders guessing. You can add a ladder hatch at this stage if you'd like. We will most likely remove these later in the build. It is up to you if you would prefer strength over mobility. And of course the roof rate is very low right now, so we want to add an extra doorway and add an armoured door here once we acquire one. Now we will do our third floor. Add a ring of half walls and then a floor on top, and then a low wall on top of this. Then add frames on either side and upgrade these to metal, and then another square frame on top for our 360-degree shooting floor, and add floors on either side, and then follow this up by windows below. You can add a stairway like so and keep it stone. On the roof you want to place these triangle roofs here and upgrade these to metal. Then you want to also add frames, and then the square roof as well. You want to upgrade this triangle in the middle to HQM, as well as the square roofs. And as previously said, these ones to metal, and then you can add extra wall for honeycomb. You then want to place double doors that open outwards. You want to add horizontal embrasures that face inwards. At this stage, if you have auto turrets, feel free to add them. On each side we'll add honeycomb to our entrances. Of course you will not be able to access these without placing the foundations next to it. So to access this area we can add permanent foundations that will be upgraded to metal. We can then add a half wall here to place our floor here. This is what it should look like. This should be an easy way to access each side of the base. Of course, repeat this on all three sides. On the side of your main entrance you want to come outside and build a twig build up like so. Then you want to place a frame inside and then a floor attaching to this. This will be to support our jump up later. You can then demolish the twig build out. Of course I did it with stone here, but you should do it with twig. At this stage you can then remove the ladder hatch if you'd like. Then you want to repeat this on the other two sides. However, on one of the sides you already have a shelf that can just clip through the wall. Then on the other side it will be your utility room, so you can then do the same twig build out on the outside if you've already added the double door frame. This is what you should be left with. Now we will do some of the compound, adding our airlocked entrance. Three-way symmetry is now on, so please repeat this on the other two sides. You want to add a raised square foundation, that is the key part of this part of the build. You then want to place a half wall and a low wall so your shooting floor can watch for door raids, and these double doors should open inwards. You want to also add a floor here. While you have this built, you can then expand up and complete your Patrico peaks. You want to add triangle frames on either side here and then a floor on top. This should give you enough stability to place these ramps here. You will upgrade these to stone, and it is preferred that they face the opposite direction, so that the lower side is next to the low walls. It should look like this. Then feel free to add another frame and then a floor on top for your SAM sites. Of course you can add these at a later stage. On top of each of these airlocks you can add a wooden stair ramp. Followed by chain link. We will now complete our wall stacking for our bunkers as well as our external TCs. You want to build out by this twig. Build out by 5 squares and cap off with a triangle. By doing this method you should be in the demolish range. You then want to build back by half moons. Of course don't demolish the original foundations. You should come back with 2 half moons, cap off with a triangle and then build back by another 3 squares. Then come back with another 2 half moons and you should be able to place your final square here. You can demolish all of the triangles and you should be left with a tiny gap in between the foundations. This is decaying right now, so you want to build back by 1 raised square foundation, upgrade this, and then 2 lowered foundations, and then another 2 foundations. And you should end with a triangle where you should be able to place your TC. Armour the roof here, and then you can place your window glass. Repeat this on the other 2 sides and you should be left with this. Please excuse the visual glitch that we have here, I'm just correcting the build server. Now when you are left with this, you can actually expand off this TC just to increase the raid cost and also add a secondary respawn room. This is quite good to spread out your respawn rooms and even add some boxes in here early on for an extra depot area. You also want to honeycomb your TC with stone. On each side of the raised square foundation you want to do 2 lowered triangle foundations and then 1 raised one. You should be left with this configuration. On this square here you will add a ramp. This will prevent soft siding on the square foundation. Sometimes it can be quite awkward, so just keep working at it. Sometimes it's easier to place from below. It doesn't really matter what way it faces. All this will determine is the way that you place your twig. Then we can complete our external bunker. When placing these frames here, make sure that the conditional is showing. You will be able to notice the difference by rotating the frame. They must both be metal. You can then extend this by adding a shelf and then a floor on top. You can also add a ramp here that covers the gap between the walls. You can then add your final wall and this will be your bunker complete. Feel free to test it with twig as well, as shown in the tour. You then want to expand off each of the shelves with a triangle frame here. This will allow you to smoothly traverse your compound. We will then expand and complete our gatehouse area. You then want to add windows either side and create this Patrico piece and upgrade the floors to metal to prevent soft siding. At this stage you could complete the compound and add the walls if you wanted, but I'm just going to complete each of the TC passageways. You want to expand by windows and then add a single door on the right hand side. This is for your vending machine if you were to use one. If you're not going to use one, you can place a full wall here. Then on the raised part of the single door, you'll then add 2 half walls on either side with a window on top. Then of course add a half wall to the back side as well. From inside this area we can then add a shelf, and we will then complete the Patrico peaks by expanding outside with a triangle and then frames on top. Repeats on both sides, and you should be left with this. This is what the base should look like. Now we can add the compound walls. You could have done this at an earlier stage once you complete the gatehouses. Before placing the barricades, we want to add a double door frame to ensure that we can place it. Then you can place 3 barricades covering this area. The placement of this barricade can be easier if you place a floor. A twig square floor will do the job. You can build off this frame and complete your turret pods. You can access this area from using netting. To access your turret pod, you can simply place the twig that opens the bunker, then you can actually jump from here onto the netting inside this framed area. You can then go ahead and add windmills on top of these. That is pretty much the base complete. We will now run through some recommended deployables, starting off with the bunkers. And that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, it is greatly appreciated. If you did like what you saw, please consider liking and subscribing below, it is greatly appreciated. Feel free to join the Discord community and Patreon link down in the description below.